Okay, hi there. We're now looking at our part 4 video of the dartboard cabinet. In the previous video, we worked on the construction of the carcass, and that included the top rails, the two bottom shelves, the two sides, and the backboard. The next video that we're working on now is going to be the creation of the doors, and you'll see the doors that I've got here in their open position. Okay, when they're closed, they neatly cover the cabinet, so nice and tidy, two even doors. Now, on the outside of the doors, we've got a darker coloured timber. On the inside, we've got a lighter coloured timber. And then when we actually open the door, we then have a painted chalkboard section for scoring. So there's a couple of different steps that we're going to be using here. And this is where we start getting into a little bit more of the technical aspects of getting this project sorted. So let's get into it. So back to where we started. So we're in the dartboard cabinet mode looking like this. If you haven't already, just make sure you Command S to save your project where you're up to. And we're going to go to the front view, so Command 3, and start taking ourselves some measurements. Now, just like we would in the workshop, when we create our doors, we create our doors to fit the project that we've constructed. So it's important from a mathematical perspective that we create doors that are going to fit. Now, to give you a bit of an overview, there are a few different types of doors that exist in cabinet making. You can have a door that sits on the inside of your project, kind of like this. Or you can have a door that sits and overlaps your project, okay, at the front and back. So it overlaps these joints to hide any gaps you may have there. And you can have doors that half overlap, okay? So the three main types are an inset door, an overlap door, and a half overlap door, okay? Or what they call overlay, so a full overlay, half overlay, or an inset door. Okay, and if you're looking at hinges, particularly kitchen style hinges, they're the terminologies you'll be familiar with is overlay, half overlay, and inset. Okay, so back on our front view, we're going to get the measuring tool, and we're going to measure the distance from this point here, okay, so see the intersection point there, all the way over to the edge, over to the other side, and when we hover there, it'll give us the measurement of 598. Now that's our total width. Now if we have two doors, each door is going to be half of 598. So in our calculator, we do 598 divided by 2, and our doors then are going to be 299 millimeters each in their width. As far as the height goes, our doors are going to go from the halfway point here. So I'll draw a line just to show you, halfway there, all the way up to here. And then they're also going to need to go an equal distance overlaying the top as well. Okay, so we're going to have a half overlay at the top, half overlay at the bottom, but full overlay on the sides. The reason for the half overlay is when the drawer is placed in, we are again going to have a half overlay for our drawer so that the drawers and the doors don't actually need to intersect. Okay, now I'll color these in so I can show you exactly how this is going to work. So if that's our drawer, our doors are going to fit quite like this. If I find my middle point, and there's one door, and there's the other door. That's really what we're aiming for here. We're going to have a right door and a left door, same sizes, half overlay at the top, half overlay at the bottom, full overlay on the two sides. And then our drawer, again, full overlay on the two sides, half overlay at the top, but a full overlay at the bottom. And the reason that we've got these drawers and doors overlaying the joints is if our project is slightly off square, this overlay process enables us to hide that from visual obviousness once the project has been constructed. So here we go. We've got the total width is 299, and our distances then from here to halfway point is 9.5 millimeters. Now mine's coming up as approximately 10, and that's because the precision is low. But I know that that piece of timber is 19 millimeters thick, therefore half of it is 9.5. So I've got 9.5 at the bottom for the half overlay. I'm going to also put the same at the top. So again, it's 9.5 at the top. So I'm adding these things two together in my calculator at the moment, 9.5 plus 9.5. And then whatever this internal dimension is. So from here all the way to here, which is 512. I add those together on my calculator. And I get a total height of 531 millimeters. All right, we're ready to start drawing now. So I'm going to Command Z to get rid of those lines that I've drawn. Okay, so again, just back to where we started at this video point. I'm going to delete out my model and I'm going to start drawing my door in front view Command 3. I'm going to draw my first door. My first door is going to be, 299 in its width and 531 in its height. And so you see I've got this rectangular pattern. Then I'm going to be using 42 millimeter timber. So I'm going to bring this in 42. And that now gives me part of my frame. I can draw my miters like this. And if I go into this view, you can see there I now have my individual frames. Now, while this will work and enable me to use the push-pull tool, the trouble with drawing it like this is you'll see I end up with these hollow sections. So it's not actually a great way to go about drawing it. So instead of using this method, once we've got one of these pieces drawn, okay, just with the one piece there, add some depth, 19 millimeters, okay, using the push-pull tool. That gives me the top and the bottom of my door. So the top and bottom of the frame are going to be identical. Once I've done that, I can make that as a component. That's a nice simple one. Make component, top of door. I'm going to go back to my front view and we're going to repeat that same process. So we're going to draw in the rectangle. We're going to offset that rectangle again. We're going to draw in our diagonals again. And this time, we're going to delete the tops and bottom pieces so that we can create our side. Depth of 19, select all, material, make component, door, sides. I've made a spelling mistake there, as you may remember. Click on it, edit, and press enter. Okay, now I'm going to rename them door sides, doors, tops, and bottoms, just so I've got some consistency there. So I've now got these pieces here that will fit together to give me the outside frame of my door. Now the outside frame of my door is one aspect of the door. The next thing that I need to do is I need to actually put a piece of plywood into the center of it, kind of like we did with the backboard on the back of the cabinet. But this time, instead of being rebaited from the back, it's going to be housed through the center in a slot. So we're going to draw from our front view our internal dimensions. From here to here is 215 millimeters on the inside, and from that point down to the bottom is 447 are our internal dimensions. So let's draw a rectangle that is 215 by 447. Again, we're going to be offsetting this because I want it to sit inside of the frame. We're going to offset it by 5 millimeters again, just like we did last time. And we're going to delete out that internal rectangle because we want the larger offsetted rectangle. This one is 3 millimeters in thickness. And if you remember, okay, is a nice light color, okay, on the front. As for the back of it has a chalkboard. And so for that, I'm going to use a dark color. Doesn't really matter which color gray you use, just something that will indicate that we've got chalk there and not pine. And I can now make that door insert its own component. From here, it's a matter of assembly, and the assembly can be a little bit tricky. So I'll show you how we're going to go about this. I'm just going to use the side of my component, the side of my rail to start with, and I need to find the center point. Now, you'll notice that when I hover over any line, it'll give me a little dot in the middle, and when I just stop moving the mouse, it highlights and says this is the midpoint in the door. Okay, so that helps me find the middle spot. The reason I want the middle, and I want the middle here as well, so just keep zooming until I find the middle. Once I've got these lines in terms of using the move tool, it gives me a point to grab onto. So I can grab the door, I can grab it from the middle, and I can snap it to the middle. So that's what I'm working on here. Now that I've got this lined up perfectly at the top, you'll notice at the bottom, it's overlapped a little bit. It's the same process now that we used for the back of the cabinet. We're going to use the move tool. We're going to click in space, and we're going to use the red dotted lines. Okay, once we've got that, we're going to type in 5. That's going to push it 5 millimeters into the side. And at the top again, using the blue dotted lines up by 5 millimeters, and that gives us that overlap. And now we have an even overlap, top and bottom. Once you've got that, you can start removing the lines that we've drawn. Okay, we've got those lines removed, and we can start putting the door top and bottoms onto our project. So grab by point and snap together. Door sides. You might remember how the flip tool works. Okay, if you don't remember how the flip tool works, maybe go back to video number 1. They've made the flip tool much easier in a recent update, so it's fairly handy to use these days. Okay, and put all these pieces together. Now that we've got this, we can click on our centerboard, tools, solid tools, trim, middle and outside, tools, solid tools, trim, middle, outside, tools, solid tools, trim, middle and then outside, tools, solid tools, trim, middle and outside. And what that does, if I delete the middle out, you'll see it's giving me that nice neat little rebate through the center there again. Perfectly neat, perfectly tidy, all the way around the carcass. And so I'll put that back right where I want it. And I can now highlight all, make component, assembled door. Now I've got an assembled door and I've got assembled carcasses, I can start positioning the doors onto the carcass. So again, I'm going to use my move tool here. Okay, start by snapping to a point. I'm going to move it up. Remember, we're overlapping by 9.5 millimeters was the dimension we agreed, and then we're taking it all the way to the edge. Now, I rotate around. See how that door is all the way at the edge on the left, and then only halfway overlapped at the bottom, and an equal overlap at the top. Do the same, assembled door. Okay, we've got 2 doors, so that's pretty normal. Move by point, that corner to this corner, and again, snap it up. The other way we can do it is move by this corner to snap to that corner. And there you have it. We've got our 2 doors assembled on our cabinet. We're going to save at this point, Command S. And that's now the end of this video. And I look forward to seeing you in our next video where we'll be looking at the construction and assembly of the drawer. Thanks very much.